War Games! What? War Games!
All right, so I already know at the start of the show, because we did not get this at all the whole entire time they promoted War Games, so I had to throw in Will and Regal in there this time around and say War Games. We are here with another NXT recap show, or NXT 2.0. I'm Kenny, as always, from the Call Up Podcast, and I got my main man, Mike Lanham, here. What is going on, Mike?
What's up, Kenny? It's pouring rain here, so that's what I got going.
It's cold in New York City, but other than that, we're all good here. No rain just yet, but they're trying to give us snow, so I don't know how that's gonna go. Got Tyson in the house. What's going on, Tyson? Oh my God! So this was the first takeover for NXT 2.0. For me, I felt like they could have just saved this for like the USA Network, rather than let us sit here for 3 hours and watch this pay-per-view.
Yeah, it was a very almost like a normal NXT show, just with the cage matches. Like,
yeah,
it had its moments, but a lot of it was just like, oh, this is what I see on Wednesdays or Tuesdays, and I could have fast forwarded through a good chunk of the show if I wasn't watching it live.
Yeah, because they gave us some like vignettes of new people that are coming to to NXT, and I'm just like, what was the reason for giving this on a pay-per-view where you could have saved this for a Tuesday? And it's just like,
I don't know,
like
if they think this is
I felt like they were trying to fill stuff
watching.
In. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, you're filling time, you got more eyes on it maybe, but yeah, it definitely has that feel of like 90s WWF, like early 90s, where it's like you have these characters, you have these vignettes, you're trying to introduce people, but like none of them are like, outside of the what's the young rich tennis girl, like the other people.
They gave us the Clueless segment, because that's what it felt like to me. I thought it was like another movie of Clueless, like part 3 that was coming out, and this is what we was gonna get, and I'm just like, what was the point of you doing this?
Yeah, I mean, that girl, the pictures like of that girl, she's pretty big. It'll be interesting to see how she goes, because she's kind of one of these newer Performance Center people in the last like year or so. So but like the two guys they showed, like neither one of those like really piqued my interest. I guess we'll see when they show up, but I feel like there's a lot of that. Like, there's so many people who, if they watch this show and haven't been watching NXT lately, like no clue who half the people on this show were.
Yeah, exactly. Because I was looking at the message boards, like on Twitter and even on Facebook, and a lot of people were just like, who are these people? Why are they showing these vignettes on a takeover right now, where like they really don't mean nothing at all? So I was just like, it felt like, I said, it just felt like they were filling up time throughout this like whole entire pay-per-view, where they could have just left it for 2 hours like they normally do, and we could have been talking about this at 10 o'clock instead of 11.
Yeah, it's a I don't know. It's just, I get that they're trying to change it with the 2.0 stuff, and it's kind of the end of the gold and black era of NXT, but yeah, they're doing it quick. Like, I mean, Bron Breakker obviously has been like the one star that's really stuck out and done well, and bringing like Mandy Rose down, and she's done well since she's been back on there. But yeah, I feel like a lot of these guys, either like we'll talk about, contracts are coming up and guys are leaving, guys are going to get called up, and we're going to have to get used to a lot of new people. But I guess that's why maybe they're not on the same night as AEW anymore, because this isn't a competitive show. It's two totally different things.
Yeah, definitely. You can tell like now it's going back to the way it used to be, where like it was more developmental than the actual stars themselves that they have. So they're trying to, like raise these stars up, but it really doesn't look like not too many people are really excited to see these people. I mean, you had some good people in there, like Cara J. She did well tonight, even though I don't know if that spot, we'll get into the women's match, I don't know if that spot was like, good. When she did that top rope move, did it land correctly? Did she actually like dislocated her shoulder? But shit, to me it looked like it really hurt, and that's what she just sat there and was just like, okay, let me think of something. But the women started it off. they had the War Games match. What did you think of the women competing first?
I mean, it was the smart move to start with this. If you're going to get the crowd going on a show that's only got like 4 or 5 matches on it, like you got to have the War Games, and you couldn't have the guys start for this one. So, it was a good match. It wasn't a great match. There were some cool spots. I don't feel like it was anywhere near as good as last year's women's War Game, but you've got a lot of new people, and I mean, you've got vets too. So I mean, a better roster, I guess, compared to the men's. But yeah, I mean, it was basically like anytime I feel like you have these women's matches where there's more than like 4 people involved, it's almost like mass confusion. They forget what they're doing. If there's like one slip up, it throws off everyone. So I mean, it's like a B minus B type match. Like I was fine with how it ended. I'm good with the overall match. There wasn't too many like slip ups, but just like for a War Games match, there weren't as many moments as there probably should have been. I think they tried to get a little bit more involved with trash cans and kendo sticks and stuff like that, so that it would kind of
they definitely try to use more. Yeah, they definitely try to use more of the weapons than anything.
Right.
Like you know, last year's War Games, obviously we seen Io Shirai going off the top rope and doing like that big move, and I guess Jade tried to do the same thing for this one, so that would be like a memorable spot for her. But yeah, there was a couple of botches in this match besides hers. But other than that, I thought everybody did well. I think Dakota Kai showed why she still needs to be a part of the NXT brand. I don't think that she's really ready for the main roster. Raquel Gonzalez looked great. She might get called up first rather than Dakota because she's been having a couple of dark matches on SmackDown and Raw. So.
Well, I mean, it's starting to feel again like the 4 horse women, like when they brought everybody up, and then everybody's like, "But you didn't bring up Bailey." Like I feel like you're gonna have the same thing here. Like somebody like Dakota Kai is gonna stay down there for a little while.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely needed like a little bit more work, and I'm just wondering, like, out of these women, besides like Mandy Rose, because obviously you're gonna leave her up there for a little while longer, like who else is gonna get that call up? At the beginning of the year to like make it to like a SmackDown or Raw.
Well, at this point, I mean, they showed the vignette for the New Year's Evil pay-per-view, and then shortly after that we'll have the Rumble. So with as many cuts as we've seen in the last year, I wouldn't be surprised how many NXT women we see in that Rumble.
Yeah, I definitely see Raquel Gonzalez being one of those participants in the Rumble this year. I know Dakota, she was in it last year, and I think the year before that. So I don't know if she'll be in it this year, but I mean, if she does, then good for her. But I definitely, like I said, out of the women, all these women here, I can just see like Raquel just getting that push up and seeing what she can do on the main roster, especially after they lost like so many different women this past year. Then we got another skit which made no sense to me. I'm kind of wondering like where are they gonna lead with this? And that was with MSK looking for the shaman. There's been different speculations as to who the shaman could be. I said it's the Road Dogg, just from the hints that they were giving, as far as like he's a master at tag teaming. And I'm just like, okay, like the Road Dogg and Billy Gunn, they won multiple championships in WWF and WWE. And he's like the only person in WWE right now who could maybe guide them in that direction.
Right, and he kind of has that goofy personality that MSK has, so it kind of work. I like I said, it's just so much like they're trying to build characters. I get it. You're trying to show people who aren't on the card, but this is a lot of like FCW type stuff, but they weren't on TV. So now you're introducing people to a national audience, then you have to like really quickly decide if this is going to work or not.
And I'm wondering, are we ever going to find out what MSK means? Like, can the shaman maybe tell us what MSK means? before these guys get cut and they get sent back to Impact Wrestling. Like, I would love to know what the hell does MSK mean.
All right. They never know.
Yeah. The next match we had up was for the NXT tag team titles. You had Kyle O'Reilly and Wagner versus Imperium. I don't know why they still had Kyle O'Reilly and Wagner together. I thought Wagner, for being a big guy, is boring as shit.
Yep.
Like
there's a lot of that tonight.
Yeah, there was a lot from different people tonight that was just like, why are you still here?
I think you just look at them and you go, physically, that guy should put like the personality and the wrestling and the storytelling, like, doesn't work for everybody. So and Kyle's trying to carry him through that, but at the end of the day, it's just like, I don't buy it for some of these people.
Yeah, I mean, the only really good thing was, like, I guess, I don't know if it was because of the people that were in the ring with him, or maybe he actually just stepped up his game a little bit. But like, Wagner actually looked pretty good tonight. He took some really good bumps. He had some really good spots throughout the match. Everybody was still focused on Kyle, still like thinking whether or not, like, is he gonna stay? Is he leaving? Like,
right. Did Wagner have a different attire last time? Because I feel like the pants.
Yeah,
maybe.
So okay. I guess that was more special for Takeover.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we'll get to it. Ciampa does kind of the same thing, but I like Wagner. He looked more professional tonight because, like, he's already very generic looking, and so, like, when he's got if he's just in trunks and stuff, he's just another big guy, and it just didn't work. So at least he had the look tonight.
Yeah. So what do you think was going to happen with Kyle O'Reilly now? We know it looks like he extended his contract.
Well, but I mean, he could wrestle on Wednesday, and that could be it. I mean, it's possible. I mean, you're going to put a cage match. Cage match is good way for people to go out. I mean, that's how Adam Cole went out. So
he did his bow for the Takeover crowd.
Yep.
And then he almost got attacked by Von Wagner, but it didn't work out for him too well. And Kyle O'Reilly got the better of him, and then threw up the undisputed sign, which is like, everybody online was just like, oh, he's leaving. Yeah. Like, he's going to AEW.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, but at this point, like, unless they put him in AEW as a group, like, I don't think it's worked out well for Bobby Fish so far. So,
I wouldn't want to see for like AEW to try and get Undisputed Era back together again on their brand. Like, these guys should be on their own, separated.
Yeah, but if they go there, they're going to do it, and then they're going to end up fighting Kenny and the Young Bucks. And I mean, it's already there. It's written for it to happen. Like, it's easier for them to set up, but it seems so predictable that I'd prefer for both of them, him and Gargano, to stay. But also depends on if they want to stay on NXT, if they want to move them to the main roster.
I mean, if they move Kyle O'Reilly to the main roster, like, where do you see this man going?
Yeah, I'm saying I don't. Like, there's Kyle O'Reilly. I loved in Undisputed Era. He was okay when he kind of went on his own, but, like, his wrestling is great, but, like, the character just, to me, doesn't work. I think he needs to be a heel. So unless they can get him back in that, but with Wagner attacking him and setting up this cage match, that's obviously not happening currently. And if he's going to stay, it's not happening anytime soon.
Yeah, I'm just afraid that, like, if Kyle O'Reilly end up staying in WWE, they move him up to the main roster, he's just going to end up being on a main event wrestling Ricochet or someone else from, like, maybe like a Drew Gulak, like, time and time again.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of people for him to fight. It's just, does it make sense?
They're all on main event right now.
Yeah, because I feel like he probably looks at it as he could go to AEW and think he's going to be a star there. And there's problem with AEW is there's just too many people that they're not using as is. Just like WWE and NXT have people they don't always use. So
you see,
every time cuts happen, people get upset, but some of them are kind of necessary, and other ones it sucks, but it's business.
Yeah. So the next match we had the hair versus hair match. It was Duke Hudson versus Cameron Grimes. Now, I haven't been watching NXT 2.0 every Tuesday, so
No.
like when I looked at Cameron Grimes, I was like, there's something different about him. And then they showed the package where he got his hair cut already, and that's where they started this match. So
Right.
I'm just like, okay, like that makes more sense now as to why like he looks different. Duke Hudson to me looks like the creative character that you would have in the beginning of a game. Hey,
He's
there's
boring.
really no charisma at all with this guy, and he's supposed to be a
Yeah.
poker player.
I don't know what that. It's just they're trying to make characters that just aren't working, and that's going to be a problem. Is there's so many of these guys that like, yeah, maybe over time you'll get used to them and they'll evolve and stuff like that. But other guys are just like dead on arrival, and it's
Yep.
like they're just sticking them on TV as quick as they can sign them.
Yeah, because Hudson looks like a guy like he's going to stay in NXT 2.0 and then get let go.
Yeah. Well, it's like God, there was another guy and I can't think of his name. I think he dated Mandy Rose, or hell, they may still be together. He was like a big bodybuilder, like Italian guy, football player guy. And he
Oh,
he,
I
he
know.
was
Oh my
on
god.
NXT forever before they
Yes.
finally cut him. I think they cut him and signed him back and
Yeah.
then cut
So,
him again.
yeah, they let him go, and then they brought him back just to release him maybe like a couple of months later, and it was just
Yeah,
like,
it's just another similar thing. It's just some of these things just don't work. And I don't know if that's like them not having Triple H there right now, if it's
mm-hmm.
not like the change since like Dusty Rhodes died and all this, like it's just so different than the NXT you're used to.
Listen, ever since Triple H went for surgery and he's been out of commission this whole entire time, you can tell who is taking over NXT and who is like the final say so of like who makes the final decision. Because they said HBK is, you know, doing the day-to-day work, but obviously Vince is like doing the last of the calls and saying like, hey, no, change this. No, I want to see this, because it's some of the NXT 2.0 episodes that I've seen so far looks like Raw.
Yeah.
You know, and we all know that Vince is taking care of Raw. So it's like,
yeah, it's like the actual like wrestling aspect of it is pretty good, but it's the characters and the storytelling that just for me aren't working.
right. So obviously Cameron Grimes, this was an okay match. I wouldn't call it a 5-star or 4-star match. Probably give it a 3 for this one. Grimes wins with a roll up. It looks, and that was to me another WWE Raw call when you're winning with a roll up, because we've seen it time and time again. And now it's made its way to NXT, and we're seeing the most dangerous move in wrestling history.
Okay, but people who lose matches and get their head shaved, it's worked out for a good chunk of them. So
He almost lost an eye there in the beginning.
Yeah.
I don't think Grimes really looked to see where he was aiming and
Right.
aimed for his eye, and I was just like, ugh, that's gonna hurt. You know, the next match we have up here was the Cruiserweight match with Joe Gacy versus Roderick Strong, which once
Gacy,
again
not a cruiserweight.
made no sense, because Joe Gacy is not 205. He does not even come close to it.
I think this belt might be coming to an end. I've heard those rumors.
There's been rumors that they want to get rid of the Cruiserweight title. I mean, obviously, because you're not promoting 205 Live like that anymore.
Well, you don't have any, but like the last time I saw a list of 205, it was like 2 to 5 guys. It was like nothing.
They all
can't
wrestle
really have
each
it,
other.
so you might as well combine it with like the North American title or something like that. Which I would be okay with seeing those two guys fight. But yeah, I don't know if this Gacy thing is they're hoping for him to make an impact, or if it's to build Harland when he eventually wrestles. Because like that guy's huge and has the look. I hate that they cut his hair, because he had that he looked like Brock Lesnar, but I guess they're hoping they don't want him to be Brock 2.0, but
yeah,
you shave his head and make him look like intimidating, then you're just kind of going that direction also. So it's a little Sammy Callahan kind of now.
Exactly.
So
I mean, with this match right here, it was more of a fight than anything else. To me, I don't think this was even a wrestling match. It was just two guys just brawling in the middle of the ring, all over the place, chopping the shit out of each other because those chops look like they hurt coming from Roderick Strong. And I think Joe Gacy at one point was just like, you know what? I'm not taking this anymore. I'm going to give you a couple of chops myself and make them hurt because shit, my chest hurt listening to that.
Right. And this is another group that just, I don't feel like has worked since they brought him up. This Diamond.
The Diamond Mine? Yeah, I don't think that's, eventually they're going to break this group up.
Yeah, high hopes for the girl maybe, but like I feel like Roddy's just like at this point riding out his contract. He's another guy. He's too much like O'Reilly, where I feel like his singles run isn't working because we're so used to Undisputed Era. Like as great as the guy was before he worked for WWE and NXT and stuff, it's just on those shows it was about wrestling, not the sports entertainment aspect. So
yeah, you could tell he had a lot of botches in this match too. Like a lot of spots where he wanted to do a backbreaker, he almost hurt his leg. He wanted to do a neck breaker, he almost hurt himself there too. And I'm just like, okay, like at this point, you're kind of just riding out your contract until you decide you're gonna end up leaving or they let you go. Because your wife is already gone. So it makes no sense why you're there afterwards. Like you're not really doing anything. They're about to get rid of the Cruiserweight title. Diamond Mine is going nowhere. You know, so what is there left for Roderick Strong to do? Right.
I'm not sure how this who this Malcolm guy has dirt on because I feel like everybody they put him with has failed so far.
Yeah. Oh my god! So the last match, that we had was the men's War Games match, and this was a little bit of mixed emotions for everyone because it's the talk, and they tried to give little hints of. This will be Johnny Gargano's last War Games. Tommaso Ciampa backstage said that this is Johnny's moment. The announcers made sure to mention that this could be, Gargano's last match. And then they hit us with the Rebel Heart entrance for him.
Yep. And his attire was kind of looked like a combination of past takeover type stuff. So.
Yeah, if you look at the gear, you can go on Main Event Gear. They're the ones who made the gear for him. They basically combined all of his takeover gear into one, which is great. I thought it was genius. Davenport, who does the New Day's attire, and Ricochet, he designed this one as well. I was chatting with him offline on Instagram, so he was like telling me like what the idea was. That they just wanted to mix all of it together. So, but he didn't give any hints as to if this was going to be his last match in NXT.
That's it. Like you're actually hinting at it. Like that's not something they really do. So, I mean, either he re-signs and he's back on there immediately. He leaves. I'd be more likely for him to take some time off, especially with Candice. I'm not sure when her due date is, but that would give him some time away, and then you can bring him back. I'd much prefer to see that.
I was like, because if he leaves now, I was talking to somebody offline. I said, if he leaves and he decides to go to AEW, he's going to end up taking the time off. Tony Khan loves to pop the crowd. We've seen that in Chicago when CM Punk debuted, Adam Cole debuting in All Out, and Daniel Bryan, debuting at the same time. Next month, they're going to be in Cleveland, January 26th. We could possibly see Johnny Gargano over at AEW Dynamite on the 26th.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, if these guys are on 30 days instead of 90 days, no compete clauses, like would work out pretty perfect and he'd get a huge reaction. So
let's talk about a little bit of botches in this match. You had Trick Williams throwing chairs, almost hitting his own teammates. Almost took a head off. I was like,
I think he looked up and like it was like a baseball game, like the ball getting caught in the light, like he didn't know it was coming, and it just moved out in time.
Because he said, but he did, to his credit, he did say move out of the way. He said, "Watch out!" Throws the chair in the air, almost hits Wilder in the face. I was just like, "Well, that'd have been it for you if you would have got hit in the face with that one.
Right?
You'd have been knocked out."
Yeah, he's not Mick Foley and wrestling the rest of the match with tooth up his nose.
Tony D'Angelo locks the cage, and they couldn't even get it open.
This is not the first time. this has happened in recent memory with
It re- it
locks
re-
and people
yeah,
not being able to
exactly.
get them off.
It reminded me of Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns.
Yeah, exactly.
When we had that long wait and pause, like, okay, did they get it open? And then they
Well, and then
finally get it open.
you got Bron Breakker, who's like comes out and like hulks up, muscles up, and then he couldn't get it. I'm like, oh, that's a bad look.
Mm-hmm.
And then Pete Dunne's laughing at him. I know it's probably just laughing in general, but yeah, I'm sure they all got a good chuckle out of that.
Bron Breakker had a couple of botches there too, where it looked like he either like hurt himself or he was gonna hurt somebody else. You know,
it's the War Games thing. It's so many people in the ring, but still.
But the crowd loved him though, and you can, they gave him a handful of spots where people were cheering for him. And that's why, for me, I feel like going into New Year's Evil, we're gonna end up seeing, Ciampa versus Breakker again, and I could see Breakker getting the title this time around in the new year.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed kind of predictable that 2.0 was winning tonight. Like, how are you gonna push this as NXT 2.0 when if they lose to the OG guys? Not that I consider LA Knight an OG guy by any means, but you don't have too many other people to put in that match that weren't already in something else. So
exactly.
But it was still, it was the best match of the night, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But
good to see DIY spots, throughout the match. I thought it was great. It took us back. A couple of times I thought maybe LA Knight might turn on his team.
Yeah, I thought that might happen.
Join 2.0, but that didn't happen. He had a good couple of spots as well. But at the end, 2.0 wins.
Yeah, what'd you think about them having this at this building? It's so much smaller. Everything was just kind of compact, having to have the cages up in the crowd running through the audience.
I mean, if they would have had it any other place, I don't think they would have packed it as much as they did.
Yeah.
Because with the NXT tickets, they only give about maybe 100 to 200 people. So, and they have to pack that little area right there.
Right.
If they would have moved it someplace else, I think it probably would have been half of that, and they probably wouldn't even fill that up completely.
Yeah. It looked fine on TV. It's weird to have everything like you're trying to have 2 rings, 2 cages, that crowd, the way it's laid out, where it's kind of that like the tiers for the seating are on top of each other. So looks great on TV, but it just seems when you're having 2 cages, you'd want a bigger environment. But like you said, if it wasn't full, it would probably take away from it.
And then the last thing that I would love to talk about and get your opinion on is, of course, they said this in the beginning of the show. Beth Phoenix last night on NXT programming. Where do you think she's going to go from here? I know she said she wants to take time off to spend with her family. Edge is back.
Yeah, are we not setting up for Miz and Maurice?
You know what? I don't know. Because, he is having that feud with Miz and Maurice right now. It would fit into bringing Beth at this point.
Even if it's a one-off, I'd rather Edge and Miz fight one-on-one. Obviously Edge is going to get a push, but he keeps talking about wanting to fight all these younger guys. It's very, I don't want to compare it to the CM Punk thing where he's fighting all the young guys in AEW, but it's kind of a similar idea where Edge said months ago all these people he wanted to have matches with before he hung them up. So, and you don't know how much longer he's going to wrestle, or if something happens to where it scares him and he gets hurt and
that's true,
has to call it quits again. So, but I could see Edge and Beth wanting to have this like one-time match, mixed tag match together.
I'm just wondering, where exactly are we going to have this match?
Because it's too far from Mania to stretch that out.
You have day one that's in a couple of weeks. I don't know if you want. Really don't have any time to build up on this, even though you're going to have Edge and Miz a segment again tomorrow night on Raw. That could set up for this, or you could just wait until the Rumble.
Right.
And
because I'm okay with leaving Edge out of the Rumble after winning last year. It sucks to leave Miz out of it, but Miz has had those moments before where they have him in these tag matches, or like him and Maurice against Cena and the Bella at Mania and stuff. So with him taking the time off for Dancing with the Stars and all that, he's probably okay with whatever story they want to put him in. So, and I'm sure he's okay with, even if they have a mixed tag match, they'll probably turn around and have a singles match. Maybe you have the singles match at day one, and then you have the mixed tag match at the Rumble, because you have to have a couple of filler matches before the men's and women's Rumble. So
exactly. So where does NXT 2.0 go from here?
I mean, you just have to keep. I mean, I get that you're building these characters. I need more. Like, these little 30-second vignettes aren't enticing me. But how else you gonna do it? If you just put somebody on TV in a match, you're like, who the hell is this? And you can't put some new guy in a match with Tommaso Ciampa and they win, and then you're like, oh, I'm supposed to believe this guy's gonna be great in the future because he just beat the NXT champion or something. So, I mean, it's a 2-hour show, but they've got a lot of new people they need to build. I think it's all going to depend on if there's some roster moves happening here. Like we said, if Gargano leaves, if O'Reilly leaves, if Ciampa drops the belt to Bron Breakker, does Ciampa move to the main roster? Because there's not really anything left for him to do on NXT. Raquel, I could see being moved up at some point. I don't know that you move Io up, because you're moving what's the other girl's name that they're doing the Xia Li, right? So if you already moved her up, which kind of surprised me they went with her over Io, but maybe you want Io more for the face run and the people she can interact with on that roster. So I think the women's division is set up pretty well for 2.0. It's the men that I'm kind of worried about.
Yeah, especially with all the newer faces that they're trying to bring in. I think Tony D'Angelo is fine for the new NXT 2.0. Carmelo Hayes, obviously Bron Breakker is going to be a star moving forward. Joe Gacy, to me, I think is another person who is going to be a star, moving forward. Do we lose, say, somebody like Pete Dunne to the main roster? Most likely by the beginning of the year, coming close to Mania or after Mania. Johnny Gargano, it's up in the air. We don't know whether he's coming or going. Kyle O'Reilly's the same way. You mentioned Ciampa, whether or not he's going to stay in NXT. I can see him moving to the main roster and dumping him on Raw. But I still got to see a little bit more from NXT 2.0, maybe going into the new year, once they start to clean up more of the roster and it's just completely new people.
Yeah, we talked about the Cruiserweight title. Like, I almost feel like, well, you definitely don't need it and the North American title. I don't even know that you need the North American title. I think you could just have the NXT title, but
you still need a secondary title, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's a way to be able to introduce some of these guys that aren't main event talent and then put them in a title picture to have more matches by doing that. But I mean, I think Bron Breakker obviously ends up with the belt at some point, and maybe that sets him up with, he'll probably fight somebody like Gacy, and then that probably leads into him and Harland, probably summertime, maybe.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah, I have high hopes for Harlan or Parker or whatever you want to call him, depending on what they do, because eventually he has to like turn on Gacy. He's gonna smack him around or talk shit too much, and at some point they'll end that team or group or whatever you want to call it.
Well, that is the end of the NXT recap. We recapped every single match on the card. We gave our inputs on stuff. I'm just going to do a little bit of house cleaning here. For those of you that are watching, if you want to pick up a lot of the figures of the people that you've seen tonight, wrestling tonight on NXT 2.0, you can find them over at Ringside Collectibles. They are the #1 retailer when it comes to wrestling figures. If you use the promo code The Call Up, it'll save you 10%. I want to give a shout out to the guys over at the Run In podcast for letting us do these recap shows, because they used to do it before and they kind of just said, "F it, we're just gonna give it to you guys." So then we took over. So it's a good thing for us. Shout out to Phil over at the Fake Cave for like letting us host these things over at the Fake Cave, and also catching us on YouTube as well. Mike, do you have anything to close us out with?
I got nothing. I hope everybody enjoyed the show, and we'll see what happens over the next month or so. With we have no pay-per-view between now and day one, so
Yeah.
a lot of interesting things that might happen between now and the end of the year. So
guys, catch me tomorrow. I'm gonna do a live stream of Monday Night Raw as always. Wednesday, I will not be doing AEW Dynamite because I'm actually going to the show. I decided to go. Found a very cheap ticket on the floor for like $40. So I said, F it.
nice.
I'm going to do it and just go. But then, and then Friday, I'm not doing SmackDown because I have to travel to Boston to go see my cousin. So, yeah. It's a holiday season, so you already know it's a little hectic to do anything at all. That is about it. And we are out of here.